Have you ever felt like some part of yourself is acting without your permission? Maybe you lash out in ways you don't understand, or feel anxious, jealous, or insecure for reasons you can't explain. What if I told you those moments are not random, and they aren't signs of weakness? They are your shadow speaking. Carl Jung called it the shadow self, the hidden, unconscious parts of your psyche that you deny, ignore, or repress. And the truth is, these parts of you are shaping your life more than you realize. Jung believed that the shadow self is unavoidable. Everyone carries one. It's the collection of traits, desires, and impulses that we consider unacceptable, shameful, or dark. But hiding it doesn't make it disappear. In fact, the more we ignore it, the stronger it becomes, and the more likely we are to project it onto others. That neighbor who makes you furious, that colleague who pushes your buttons, that friend who triggers insecurity. Often, they are mirrors reflecting the unacknowledged shadow within you. Imagine this. Your mind is like a house. The parts you see and like, the living room, the kitchen, the sunny windows, represent your conscious self. But the basement, dark and dusty, filled with old boxes and forgotten things, is your shadow. You might avoid it, but the basement still influences the rest of the house. Moisture creeps upstairs. Strange noises echo, and the foundation slowly shifts if ignored. Shadow work is about going down into that basement, opening the boxes, and seeing what's there. Let me share a real story. A friend of mine, a successful entrepreneur, found himself repeatedly sabotaging relationships. He didn't know why he would get defensive over small criticisms or push people away when they tried to get close. After beginning shadow work with a therapist trained in Jungian techniques, he realized he was projecting his own fear of inadequacy onto others. By facing that fear, naming it, and integrating it into his conscious awareness, he stopped repeating destructive patterns. He didn't become perfect, but he became whole. That's the power of facing your shadow. It's the first step toward authentic freedom. The central message of this video is simple but profound. The parts of yourself you deny are controlling your life. Ignoring them doesn't protect you, it limits you. Embracing your shadow isn't about becoming dark or evil. It's about becoming aware, integrating and reclaiming the energy you've unconsciously spent hiding from yourself. It's a path toward wholeness, psychological maturity, and authentic selfhood. So how do you begin? First, recognize and observe. Jung emphasized awareness as the first step. Notice patterns in your behavior that seem irrational or self-sabotaging. Journal about emotions that trigger you, moments when you feel intense attraction or repulsion, and recurring thoughts you wish would disappear. Observation doesn't mean judgment. It means curiosity. Second, explore projection. Projection is when we see our hidden qualities in others. That rage, jealousy, or fear that irritates you in someone else might be exactly what you're avoiding within yourself. When you feel triggered, ask, could this be reflecting something inside me? The more you can take ownership of these projections, the less power they have over you. Third, integrate consciously. Integration doesn't mean acting out every impulse. It means acknowledging the existence of these traits and understanding how they can serve you constructively. If you feel envy, for example, notice what it points to, a desire or ambition you've suppressed, and redirect that energy toward growth. If you feel anger, explore its source. What boundaries or values are being violated? By accepting and channeling your shadow, you reclaim energy that was wasted on avoidance, denial, or repression. Jungian shadow work can also be complemented by modern psychological techniques, trauma-informed therapy, cognitive behavioral exercises, and mindfulness practices all help increase self-awareness and reduce unconscious reactivity. Ancient alchemy, which Jung often referenced, serves as a metaphor. Just as base metals are transformed into gold, our darkest impulses can be transmuted into creativity, insight, and strength. Here's another metaphor to make it real. Think of your psyche as a river. The surface is smooth and calm, representing your conscious awareness. But underneath, there are strong currents, your shadow. If you ignore them, they pull you in directions you don't understand, creating turbulence in your life. Shadow integration is learning to navigate those currents, to understand their direction, and even to use their force to propel yourself forward rather than being swept away. Practically speaking, this process requires courage. It requires you to sit with discomfort, uncertainty, and self-doubt. But the payoff is enormous. Emotional resilience, stronger relationships, and a sense of authenticity that can't be achieved by only cultivating the parts of yourself you already like. Shadow work is not a one-time exercise. It's an ongoing practice, but even small steps, observing, reflecting, integrating, begin to shift your life. In summary, here are 3 clear takeaways you can start today. First, increase self-awareness. Track your triggers, emotional reactions, and recurring thoughts without judgment. Awareness is the foundation. Second, explore projections. Ask yourself whether the things that irritate, attract, or disturb you in others are reflections of your own hidden traits. Third, integrate your shadow. Use the energy and insight from your shadow traits constructively. Channel suppressed desires, impulses, and fears toward growth rather than repression. By facing your shadow consciously, you reclaim parts of yourself that have been controlling your behavior. From the shadows, you move from being unconsciously reactive to intentionally empowered. And as Jung said, everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. Shadow work isn't about becoming someone new. It's about becoming whole. It's about turning the parts of yourself you fear into allies instead of enemies. When you do this, your relationships deepen, your choices become clearer, and your life starts to feel more integrated. So what does it mean to face your shadow? It means acknowledging that the parts of yourself you've ignored or rejected are not enemies. They're hidden allies. They carry energy, insight, and potential that you've been unconsciously suppressing. Jung warned that the darker and denser the shadow becomes, the more it controls your life. But when you bring it into consciousness, when you integrate it intentionally, you reclaim that control. You stop being a passive participant in your own existence and start steering your life with awareness. This process isn't easy. It requires honesty, courage, and patience. You'll meet traits, desires, and fears that make you uncomfortable. You may see patterns of behavior you don't like, but every time you acknowledge them without judgment, you weaken their unconscious grip and transform their energy into something constructive. Anger becomes a signal of boundaries. Envy becomes a compass pointing toward your aspirations. Fear becomes a guide to where growth is needed. The payoff is profound. Integration of the shadow leads to wholeness, authenticity, and inner freedom. Relationships improve because you no longer project unresolved emotions onto others. Decisions become clearer because you're acting from the totality of your psyche, rather than a fragmented cell. Creativity and intuition flourish when you channel the energy previously trapped in denial. In the end, shadow work is not about becoming someone new. It's about embracing the full spectrum of who you already are. Every darkness you face and integrate adds depth, resilience, and power. Your life becomes richer, your mind sharper, and your spirit freer. Remember Jung's words: everyone carries a shadow. The question is not whether it exists. It's whether you are willing to meet it, understand it, and let it become part of the conscious, empowered, and authentic you. Facing your darkness is the path to becoming whole.